What's up, everybody? It is AEC Anything Everything Cornhole. I am Richard Nyberg and Gunnar Briz, the co-host here of episode 7. So, episode 7 was actually going to air last week. Unfortunately, we kind of fell a little ill. Not to mention, we had Thanksgiving and just family and everything. So, we just decided to take the week off, and we're back at it now. And we're ready to kick it off, and we got some good content for you guys today. So we're gonna start with a couple tournaments. I'd say one of the big ones was the Friendsgiving one that we did at Purdue, and that was in Redlands at the park. There was over 120 players, man. That
It's
was
wild.
it was a crazy turnout, man. They always have amazing turnouts. Their venues are great, and a lot of great people, a lot of great players showed up. Yeah, it was a really good day. Let's talk about that a little bit, man. How'd you start out?
I started out pretty decent. I threw like an 8 because this tournament, is going off PPR, so it doesn't really care about wins and losses and points or whatever. So I know a lot of people are just trying to go hole for hole and not really block. But I'm still gonna play the dirty game. I'm still gonna play how I play. I don't really switch it up. Shot like a high 8 my first game, then I fell off and shot like a 5 because I kept getting like a level 4 blocker. So I was just shooting airmails and I was not hitting them. But I did end up hitting like 3 in a row the next game. But that game I was just off. Ended up finishing around like a high 7, I think. Pretty much finished 13th overall. So they're doing top to middle, and they were taking the top what?
Top 40 for the A bracket, yeah.
Yeah. So, I got a partner from the bottom, which I was like, damn, you don't ever want a partner close to the bottom. But I lucked out. My partner actually was really decently good. We lost our first game in the playoffs, but then we made a run for it, and we beat a lot of people. I think I had one game where I threw an 11.3. I had like 4 baggers and like 3 10s or something, where I only missed 3 bags total. We won that game, and we actually ended up facing you in the losers bracket, and we ended up beating you guys.
Yep.
But we ended up falling short. We ended up taking 4th, and you need to be top 3 to get money. So it was a good run, though. I think it's definitely an interesting tournament because there is so many people in the bracket that like it really is like a random system of who you can get. Some people are throwing good, some people throw bad. Some games, in the rounders, I don't know. A lot of people can place anywhere, in my opinion, for the most part. But I don't know. How was your experience there?
Well, I killed it, man. PPR wise, top 3. It was Saucy Daryl, Emax, and then myself. I was actually sitting number 1 there for a minute. Went down to 2. Then I think I dropped to like 5. Then I went up to 2 again, and then I went to 3 overall when the rounders finally finished. Which was great, man. I shot a 9.5 in the four rounds, and that was outside, uneven ground. Boards were a little slick. Generally everybody was playing hole for hole. There was one of my games why actually the hardest part was there was glare on some of the boards.
Oh yeah, if you threw on one side, it was terrible.
So bad. People were standing in front like to give shadow so you could actually see the hole. It was bad. And I think that's where I shot like an 8.8 in that game. So it wasn't bad, but it was also like, yeah, it probably would have went a little bit more in my favor if I could have seen the board a little bit better. But nonetheless, finished with a 9.5 in the 4 rounds. I got my partner. We always do one in the middle. So it was 1 and 21. And I got the 23rd guy, Chris Fortin. Great dude, nice guy, man. Love the family. They got some shooters over there. And we had a couple good games. Then we played Emax and Michael S for the game to go into the next game that would decide King Seat. And we were up in that game. I actually, hey, you know what? Shout out to Emax, always being an amazing player, but I got to take credit for this one because I did outthrow him, and that felt good. I shot a 9.13 against him. He shot a 9. The other side was more the
deciding
point
factor.
Yeah, they were the point grabbers, and Michael just did a great job and capitalized on my partner. And we dropped out into the elimination round, and that's when we played you guys. And unfortunately, my partner, I think he was just in his head after the game before that. because he had a couple rough rounds. He threw a 1. That one hurt a lot, and especially playing advanced. It doesn't matter what side you play on. If you're throwing a 1, you know what I mean? Like it's too hard to come back from that. So we lost out on that. We took 5th. Wasn't a bad day. A lot of time for cornhole, which was good.
It was a long day.
It was a very long day, but still fun. And we watched the finals, and well-deserved players, man. Emily and Daryl took it. Shout out to them. They threw really well, man. Emily's an awesome player. She's definitely rising more and more. She's becoming lethal. So excited to see her little career blossom and stuff as she keeps going. But and then Emax and Mike taking second, man. But it was a grudge match for them too. So it was just good.
They won the first one for the double dip.
Yeah, they did. So they definitely made it interesting, which was good. So it was just a good day. Had some tournaments before that. Played Chino last week. Played Chino, and I did well. Me and my partner fell short on that one. Just another rough day. Played Tuesday at my local one. Did okay again. Kind of battling my little mental demons, and we fall into that. Then I go down Wednesday to Purdue, which, by the way, everybody, shout out to Purdue Baggers have officially sponsored me for my ACL journey, which is cool. So representing Purdue Baggers as well as Brotherhood. Brotherhood is my main source for bags, merchandise, and got a lot of amazing players there. But Purdue as a club has decided to also help sponsor me on my journey because ACL is expensive, especially when you're trying to travel and things like that. So they want to help me out. And thank you guys so much. But yeah, so I go down Wednesday to that one, and I started out really bad. I was still kind of battling my mental demons, and then I had a good talk with a couple great people, man. Wally gave me a good conversation, and and it was just like, hey man, just have fun, dude. Like go back to bags. That's why you kicked butt in the first place. You just stopped. You weren't worrying about stats and SPR and all that stuff. Just throw your game. And I did that. And then my next game was against Demon Slayer, and I shot an 11-4 on him. So, it was great. And then I get a good partner. We took third that night, which was good. So I was like, okay, I'm back on track again. We went to the Friendsgiving, shot heat, unfortunately fell short. And then last night went to nonfiction again in Chino and finished number 1 overall statistically wise. But me and my partner, shout out to Wendy, unfortunately just wasn't her night. And that's okay because, it happens. Cornhole, and we can't always win them. So I'm due for a win, at least a podium. I'm due for one of those. But nonetheless, it was a pleasure to throw with her. She's awesome, and love everybody at Nonfiction. Anyways, they're all great people, and Chris does a very, very good job there running his venue and has a great turnout. A lot of really talented shooters show up for that one. So. And that was intense because that was 4 rounds and a double elimination. So we had 6 games a minimum, pretty good day. So
I feel like that's pretty normal though for me. I know High Desert you guys do too, but like 4 games in a double elim.
Well, he doesn't really do double elim.
Oh, he does single elim, huh?
Yeah, he always does single. It's usually like 2 to 3 rounds single elimination. I think just last night he was just like, hey man, let's run it, So
yeah.
But yeah, wasn't too bad.
Now, I feel like let's talk about your favorite format for local tournaments because I feel like up in the air, there's a lot of different ways to run it, and some people like certain ways over certain other ways. Like, for instance, you take total points. You could place higher than what maybe you would do for the PPR list, but is it helpful does it hurt the bad players? Does it help that other players get higher? Like, I feel like it has a bunch of mixed emotions towards it. Because there's so many ways that it could go. Like, you could draw someone from the bottom, or there could be someone at the top that might not belong there. And it's like, it's hard. So, like, what is your favorite format, and what do you think is the most fair?
So I'm more of a fan of the PPR. I feel like everybody's going to throw their hardest for the most part. There's, you can't speak for everybody. Some people will, they'll do their thing. We're not going to get into that because that's not what this is about. But I like PPR because it's really going to bring out everybody trying to play the whole game and really try to just see how well they are down the middle. And then obviously everybody who is versatile in their game once playoffs hit is where you see everybody start changing their, the way they play into how they normally play, which is either dirty game or still hole chase, whatever, right? So I like the PPR portion because, if you are very good down the middle, you're going to have good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is tough, but I think Purdue does it pretty well because they always just do one in middle. So generally, if everybody's throwing right, if you're a top shooter, you're going to get the middle guy, and the middle guy has generally been shooting pretty decent for the night. You know what I mean? So, you got a good opportunity to move forward, to at least make the finals or even, a chance for the finals, make podium. I think what makes nonfiction so hard to win is its total points. Because you could have a lethal shooter and a good, and then they got like a good player, like everybody plays good and some more consistent than others. So you'll get like a good, really good shooter, and then you'll get like a good shooter, and then you'll have like two guys that are, average or whatnot, right? So then you end up winning that game, let's just say 25-0, right? Because you just like, you had the guy throwing heat, the other guy was good enough to just keep putting points or whatever, and then those guys fell apart, right? But then you go into your next game, and then you have two, like, you have like a lethal shooter, and then you got like a really low shooter, and then you had like two good shooters, and the low shooter's kind of keeping up, losing some points here and there. The lethal shooter's out shooting his guy, he wins, and then he's, now he's got the lower guy up, in the standings, up top 5 or whatever, right? And then when it goes to like the one in middle or 1 and 2, you could end up getting one of those guys that really just didn't do much, and that's what makes it hard to win in nonfiction, because there is great shooters, but then sometimes you get the guys who are not as consistent, and then they end up, sitting up in like the top 5 or whatever, and nothing against them, because they can, hey, anybody can have their day. And sometimes, people overlook that. They're like, ah, man, like, I got this guy or whatever, like, we're gonna have a short night or whatever. And they can end up shooting absolute heat and you didn't know. But yeah, I think that's what makes it hard at nonfiction. I think that's why he does it, because he knows, like, you really got to work, when you're there. So
I feel like sometimes it is tough though, because even last night I had two 23-0 wins, and then I had a 21-14. And then our fourth game, we lost 21-10, and it dropped me all the way to 13th. But
yeah,
when we were sitting on PPR, I was second, right behind you on the PPR list.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a little tough with total points. I feel like one game could really affect you. And if you typically lose your first 2, you're pretty much already out.
Right.
Unless you have like 2 amazing games and you just pray.
It's pretty close to, if you think about it, it's kind of like ACL in a sense, I feel like if you lose a game, or 2 games, you're done pretty much for the day.
Yeah. Okay, what do you think about this though? So I know I used to go to a tournament, and how he ran it was random each time. So you know how at nonfiction they spin for 1 and 2 or 1 in middle.
Yeah.
Well, what this guy would do is he would spin, or he would roll a dice, and it would either be PPR total points or DPR, and then it would be 1 in middle or 1 in bottom, whatever. He never did Cornelius, but so you never knew. Because do you think some people typically try to not block each other or help each other out by pushing bags in when it is PPR? And by knowing that, do you feel like some people may play different? I mean, not typically us, we don't play different, whether it's PPR or total points. But I'm saying some people might play differently, trying to just get their PPR up or their total points or whatever it may be. Do you think maybe having it random, where you don't know if it's going to be PPR or total points, is a good idea?
I think random would be pretty intense, because then everybody's just going to be like, yo, let's throw the best we can, regardless.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to have to throw our game. I think that's cool.
And then there also is times that, like, say, like, you're good on PPR, but you're not good on total points, and you could go home for the night because of the random roll. So it is tough, too, because that's the one thing I hated. But normally I made it on both, but it can be tough.
Well, because I think if you're not thinking about it, because you're like, hey, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So I'm just going to throw the best I can do. Um, yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's scary, I guess
Mm-hmm.
too, but especially if you're not used to doing it or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean that would be kind of cool. Also they have where you could keep it like PPR or whatever, and then you just you hide the stats until playoffs start. So you just don't know
Mm-hmm.
where you're sitting. You don't know what the stats are. I think that's kind of cool too, because then maybe people don't play down, to try to get a partner or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, because Switch Holio is tough, dude. Like when you're playing Switch, it's really tough to win. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, I mean, unless you're constantly playing at that club and then you just know everybody that plays or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you kind of get the same people, and then everybody just knows how to play each other. It
Mm-hmm.
happens. But I think, yeah, the random or like the random or the hiding is actually kind of cool.
Well, I think like the hiding, say like the cutoff is like what was it, 28 last night, and there was 40 players. So
No,
if
there
you,
wasn't 40. There was shoot, man,
or
there wasn't
30
even.
something.
I think it was 32, and he just cut it to 28. Yeah,
Okay, so whatever number you want to cut it at, right?
yeah,
So say you're shooting bad on the night and it's hidden. You could be thinking, "Oh, I'm not gonna make it, so I'm gonna shoot better." But if you know, like it's your last game and you're the last game played, you might shoot worse to try to get a higher guy or whatever if it's one in bottom or something. But if
right,
it's hidden, then you're gonna try to shoot your best game regardless, because you
right,
don't know if you're not gonna make it, or
yeah,
you're like, "Oh, I might be close to the middle. I want to get higher. I want to get away from that, or whatever it may be."
right. Well,
Kind
let's
of
talk
thing.
about that one you said. Where they're, I don't know who was, what director was gonna do it, but he's talking about taking the your stats for the whole month and then placing you
So
that
that
way.
yeah, so what he's gonna do is take one big tournament. So he'll say like there's 50 people that show up, right?
Right,
So there's 50 people and then they all pay an X amount of dollars. So whatever it may be, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is. And then your last 120 days of your PPR, you just get put into your division. So it'll take the top 16 for A, then the next 16 all the way down. And you'll get put in which division you belong in based on your 120 days. So you can't even sandbag, or it's going to take you months to sandbag, and then you're going to like go back up quickly when you start winning. So you're going to be placed in where you need to be, and it'll make the highest people compete. But say like 4 people come from a different club, then 4 people are going to get knocked down. So depending on the week of where you sit and who's in it is going to vary what bracket you're in. Because I do find tournaments tough when there is no cap and some lower players go into advanced or whatever. Not
yeah,
saying it's wrong, because I personally like to do that at the beginning, because then I wanted to try to get better and I knew how to play better players. But at the same time, sometimes you're holding people back and they get frustrated at the same time. So it is kind of tough if you look at it both ways. Like some people are obviously trying to get better and stuff, but when
right,
is the right time to move up? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
Like, do you move up after you win 2 or 3 competitives, maybe 4, win a couple, get a couple? But I moved up personally, never even winning a competitive match, and I went into my first advanced tournament, took second. So
I mean, you're a rare breed because when I went to advance, I got my ass smoked.
yeah.
Like I was just rocked, and I mean, but it helped,
Mhm.
because I knew what I was up against, and I knew that I wasn't gonna, beat some of these guys, and
Mhm.
for good reason. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going in there. These guys got years of experience. For me, I just wasn't. I was like, let me see what I can do.
Mhm.
And it took a little bit. I mean, I think I've grown pretty fast at a fast level, which is good. Because I'm able to compete with these guys. I don't
Mhm.
claim that I'm better than any of them, by any means. I just in my own game, I feel like I've moved really fast at a high rate, and and I put in a lot of work. I put in
Mhm.
hours every single day, and because I look up to a lot of these guys. I really feel like I'm working hard to impress them, and they may not see it that way, but I do look up to a lot of these players. So
Mhm.
you kicking butt in advance like right off the rip, man, that's impressive because I didn't.
Well, this was also a couple months in. It wasn't like I played competitive for a while. I just never won. I never
Right.
won an intermediate, and I never won a competitive, which is kind of weird to say, but but I've won advanced. So I don't know. Let us know down in the comments what your favorite format is and when you think is a good time to move up and when do you think it is a good time to go down, kind of thing, fluctuate around. But now let's get into changing your form. Because I know a lot of people go on and on about you need to do this or you need to do that. Left foot forward's better, right foot forward's better. Do you throw with 4 fingers, 2 fingers? Do you like inside, outside? Are you a stepper? Like there's so much into throwing that people don't realize. Like what is a good time to change? If you know something's not working, how long should you do the change for to see if it is actually working? Because right when you change it, it normally works for like a day because it's something new and then it goes to crap. But do you stick with it and do you think it's a good change? Or like what is your thought on that?
So, we're gonna start with I've had a couple players just recently talk to me about this. Demon Slayer, phenomenal player, man. This guy is absolutely money. He's been one of my favorite players to watch, and just a great dude. He changed his form where he still was playing no step, but he changed the way he stood, like almost kind of similar to Saucy Daryl's. Um, he's like, it's easier on my leg, it's not killing my knee or whatever. But he started struggling consistency down the middle, and his roll shot was no longer there because the way he would lean, to get his roll going. So he was trying it for a little bit. I think it was a couple tournaments, and he just couldn't get it going. And then I remember at Purdue, he goes, "Man, I had to go back to the way I was because it just was not working." But it messed with him in the rest of the night. Even though he went back to what he knew, it's still like he was doing a different form, and then went back to his other form midway through, and it's hard to kind of recover from that, you know. And then just recently, I was talking to Fish. He changed his, but he did it for the better. He said, so now he steps with his bag, and he feels really good. He loves it, and he's like, my PPR is up. He's up over 7 now, so he's liking that. And so I think it's honestly, I think when you find something that you like, it's not gonna be perfect overnight. Like it's not. It might feel good, and you're like, okay, I can deal with this. But you also have to understand that when you are making that adjustment, it might be good at first, and then you're gonna hit some slumps with it. But if that's what you really want, you're gonna have to stay with it. Because if you keep flopping around and keep trying to change stuff, you're just gonna be a jumble of mess because you're just gonna be playing around with, oh well, maybe I should do it this way or this way. You just got too much. As for myself, there was a few ways I played with. Well, let's say I started with a step, and then then I went to kind of like a no step, but I still kind of had to have some motion. So I kind of like I have my right foot forward. I'm a lefty, so I have my right foot forward, and then
It's like a half step almost.
I kind of step up like a little bit, and it's kind of just to like up and then down. It's kind of like just giving a motion because for 10 years, horseshoes, I was stepping, so I had to have something like I didn't want to do a full step because I don't also like standing too far back behind the board, especially when we have situations where there's a wall behind you. It's just really hard and it'll mess up your rhythm. So I changed to that. So I'm like closer to the front of the board, still not exactly in front of the board because obviously when I step forward, I don't want to step over the line. And that. But the biggest one that I played with was roll shots. And now that I finally have the way I like it, I'm not changing it anymore. Now I'm just working on the consistency feel and everything like that. But yeah, I played a few times with different ways to hold the bag for a roll shot. And luckily I didn't have it mastered at all, and I was able to kind of make it adjustments and stuff. But yeah, I feel like, in my opinion, do what's gonna benefit you in the long run, and understand that it's not gonna happen overnight. But don't flop around with different things. Like, oh, I like this, but then this is better. But then I also like this way. You got to find what works for you. So there's that. And that's stance. Grip is another thing that we, didn't really cover, but Are you a butterfly grip kind of player? Were you constantly, just for the longest time holding a bag? Like, let's just use Matt Guy, for example. The dude, just has the bag hanging over the hand, just hangs right over the hand and he just lets it go. Does it come out pretty? No, it doesn't. It's consistently down, down the middle. Um, were you trying to make adjustments because you wanted a prettier bag, but now you're finding yourself struggling because you're not consistently down the middle? There's a lot of factors to it. Do I for me, I wanted it to be pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And so luckily, being as new as I was in the game, I was able to change from a floppy kind of bag to working through and now having a really good butterfly grip, because I wanted to be able to be versatile and have roll shots, cut shots, different things like that. And I feel like the butterfly grip gives you that opportunity. And but yeah, grip is everything too. How do you hold the bag? And there's different ways you can hold the bag, even with a butterfly grip. Like, where are you
Mm-hmm.
holding it at? What's causing you to be inconsistent? Are you changing it too much? Stay with something that works. And then if you need to make minor adjustments, that's not going to be too much of a factor. But you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have to build your muscle memory on that minor adjustment, because you'll go back to what you were doing and then you're like, "Oh, wait, no, I was supposed to do it this way." You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a few things with that.
No, I
So,
definitely have a lot of experience with changing, as you know. So first, I started with right foot forward, and I started with the four-finger, just like Matt Guy tradition that everyone kind of starts. And I was throwing game changers. You just flick your fingers, hopefully it spins, and you know. And I thought to myself, like, how am I going to elevate my game to the next level? So then I noticed like some people put their finger on the corner. So then I started doing that, finger on the
right.
corner, and I had right foot forward, like a really wide stance or whatever. And so that was working for a while. But then I kept hitting my pocket. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go left foot forward. And it felt really comfortable. Started doing that for a while. Then I thought, there's something to this like butterfly grip. Everyone's like, oh, butterfly grip, butterfly grip. Like, what is so different? And what can
Right.
you do with the butterfly grip, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I ended up watching YouTube videos on a butterfly grip, got the butterfly grip down. And at this point, I was throwing Vikings. So I would just throw the bag like really hard. And so
Yeah.
I couldn't use anything but a 4-speed carpet. And I was like, okay, something needs to change because not everyone and their mother can throw a Viking. Like,
Yeah.
I need something where I could take the average player and hopefully make a run with it, right? Because at this time, this is like when the Viper R era was like a thing. Like, I feel like it's still kind of a thing, but like everybody and their mother, at least around me, had Viper R's. And there was no way I was keeping a Viper R on the board. It was impossible.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I got to switch something. And a couple months later, I mean, it was actually probably like 7 months later, I was like, I need to try to figure out how to like throw faster bags, right? So we ended up going to, like I started throwing Costello X's, a little bit quicker of a bag, kind of figured it out in a way, but the boards had to be playing the right speed for me to be able to throw them.
Right.
So that was kind of my in-between bag where people could use, kind of make it work, whatever. I mean, it's like a 5.8, so it's like basically a smaller template Viper R in a way.
Right.
But then I used to throw with 2 fingers. I don't know if you knew that, but I
Yeah,
threw
you
with
did.
2
You told me that.
fingers, and my back fingers wouldn't even be on the bag. And when I went to Spencer McKinsey's, I was watching all these pros throw, and I'm like, well, how are they so consistent? And like, what are they doing so different than I'm doing? And it looks like they float their bag, and I feel like I was always throwing my bag.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you watch Hunter Thorne and Tony Smith, they're throwing pro snipers on the boards at Spencer McKinsey's, and I'm throwing Costello X's, and I can't keep it on to save my life. So there's got to be a reason they can keep the bag on. So I actually went around and filmed a bunch of pros, and like kind of watched over. And a lot of them, I mean, like every pro is literally so different, but so similar at the same time. So a lot of them, I noticed like right foot forward, left foot forward, stepping, whatever it may be. Like they really just kind of like like float their bag. They really just toss it. And a lot of them use 4 fingers, if not 3. So then I went to right foot forward again with 4 fingers, and I was able to toss it. But then I was at the point where like I was throwing a sorcerer, and the bag would hardly move. And I was like, okay, well, this is not good because now I'm not getting it to slide at all. And so I went with right foot forward for a while, just trying to figure it all out, and then went back to left foot forward because we had to talk about switching. And you're just like, go to what you're comfortable with, which wasn't bad. I did that for about a month, but now I switched back to right foot forward because I feel like for me, what I've realized is like it's all about the arm. Whether you stand left foot forward or right foot forward, I can throw both, and I throw about the same PPR with both.
Yeah.
Until like last night, like kind of recently, the past couple week or two. But it's really just about keeping your arm a pendulum, not bending your elbow, and if you can get that smooth without jerking your body on the throw.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed is like it's kind of like a Gavin Cano throw in a way. So if you know how he throws, he kind of just stands there with his right foot forward, and I'm pretty sure he throws right foot forward. And it's just kind of like you lean into it, but he doesn't pop up his body until the bag is out of his hand. He just swings his arm. Same with Hunter Thorne. They lean forward, toss the bag, then they lift. And I think that's when I noticed the most consistency for me is like when when the bag feels good in my hand, I just lean, and then once my backswing's done, I lock my whole entire body until my arm follows through. So really, it's just my arm throwing the bag, and as long as I don't move my body, it goes straight and goes in the hole.
You know whose bag is just perfect to me, man? Just its form and everything. You probably know this. Take a guess.
The perfect and everything?
Yeah, man. I love his form. I love his release.
A stepper or non-stepper?
Non-stepper. He's very smooth with it, man.
Hunter
Very
Thorne?
smooth. No.
Who?
Justin Burton Jr., man.
I feel like he's smooth, but he has like that weird, like he brings it up and like jerks it and then like throws.
It's a quick up to the face. It's like a double, but it's
a double.
Robotic.
Yeah, no, it is.
That's what I love. But when he releases that thing, man, it is so smooth, bro. Like, and I've thrown against him, so I was like, I'm just intrigued watching. I was like, bro, like I gotta focus on my game, but your bag is like perfect, man. No, it's just, I mean, that's the years of experience and just consistency. But no, man, I mean, I think you're spot on with what you said. And I think people need to understand keeping that elbow in. When you're letting it out, man, I mean, to get that elbow in is going to give you that flat hand, you know, because you're putting the elbow in, so your hand's going to react to that. That's going to help. I know it sounds like a lot, and it kind of is because you got to keep working with it. But it's also a confidence thing. You know, this game is built on confidence. For instance, man, you didn't see it, but last night I hit the craziest 12-point shot, and I was just confident with it. My partner, she was like, "Hey, just maybe just push. Like you might get one." I was like, "It's a little off to the left. I might drop one, but my other bag might kick." And I go off the board. He's already got 10 points. I was like, I'm going up. Hit the nastiest airmail, dragged both my bags, and my bag coming in on the airmail for 12. My opponent next to me is looking at me. He goes, "Did that just happen?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "F you." He was like, "There's no way you just hit that," because he had a perfect block behind my bags. Confidence. I completely felt. I was like, you know what? Look, we're either gonna win or we're gonna lose this game. Yeah. And I was like, I'm hitting the shot. I feel good with it. My airmail is beautiful. I love it. More often than not, I always hit my airmails. And I was like, but dragging these, like, think about this. It's like, this works. Everybody's gonna talk about it.
I think another big thing that we haven't covered yet is tempo. Because I noticed in my first game last night, I threw a 4-bag. And I'm trying to really focus on just throwing 4-bags because I feel like that's what I'm missing to step up my game. I have the rolls. I can like push and whatever I need, but it's literally just tempo. I don't hit the shots when the tempo's off. First game threw a 4-bagger. Next one, I noticed myself on my second bag match his tempo and I missed. So then I went back and I slowed down, took an extra 3 seconds to throw the bag, and then hit a 10, then another 4-bagger, and then we won the game literally quick. But it's like, I noticed even with Little Chingo when I played him last night, I threw a 10.6 and I literally just focused on like I noticed like I throw a bag and then he rips one in there. Yeah. And it's like, all right, I'm going to flip the bag. I'm going to set myself, make sure it feels right, and then go. And it's like you get up to 12 seconds. I know people get frustrated when they're waiting for you to throw the bag, but like that's on them at that point. You get 12 seconds to be in motion. So it's like you could sit there for a while. And I know because it throws other people off, but if it helps your tempo where you're not like matching someone else, because I know like when I first started, like I would just rip them in there. And if someone else had a long tempo, then it would screw me all up. But now it's like, think of every single bag being the same, and it's like taking your own time, like how much ever time you need to throw the bag to be as consistent as possible.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing that people miss.
I think that's a big thing is you have to have your own rhythm. When you match somebody else's, you're, especially if they are quicker, but you feel rushed, you lost. Like, I hate to say it, but you're out of your own rhythm. You lost. You're playing their game. And they want you to do that.
Yeah.
Eric Turney was, I played him in that singles, and he goes, he said that I was taking a little too long, and I was like, I don't think I was taking that long, bro, but okay, whatever. I'm not going to argue with you. But he said he would have done the same thing because I took him out of his rhythm. He's quicker to throw a bag. I took my time a little bit, You just got to play your own game. That's how I play, though. I mean, if I'm seeing a shot clock, obviously I'm going to honor the shot clock. I'm not going to take 30 seconds a bag or whatever. Like, I'm not going to take that long to throw a bag. That's absolutely ridiculous. But sometimes you need to look at the board too. You're like, all right, there's something going on down there. I'm not just going to throw this bag. I'm going to look at it for a second.
Yeah.
Or even if they miss one, it's like, you guys are 9s, and then their last bag was a 10. And then you're like, okay, I got to go in. So you're going to take a second, right, to assess. I mean, unless you're just confidently throwing quicker, then throw your rhythm because you're going to get the 12.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay in your tempo and don't worry about what others say. If they're complaining because you're taking longer than they take, hey, that's just on them. You're playing your own game. I mean, there's been quite a few that will sit there and they'll bag flip 5, 6, 7 times before they throw their bag, and I'm like, oh boy, But I mean, you can't do nothing about it. It's their rhythm. You just gotta. It like we've talked about this in past episodes. It's a mental game. It really is. Are they winning in the mental battle? And chances are they are if you're getting frustrated. So yeah, no tempo. Stay with that. Also another thing that I think I tried it was setting bags down. I have to hold all my bags in my hand. I've tried where I've set them down because they say like each bag will reset you, for your first, like it's your first bag. I'm not like, I tried it. It was okay, but I found myself more inconsistent with that than I am holding my bags. I feel like holding my bags is a comfort blanket, even though I know I go down to my last bag where I don't have a bag in my hand, like any other bags in my hand, but I know that I already threw my other bag. So I'm like, okay, this is my last bag. I didn't have to bend down. I have to reset. I can adjust my feet. I can adjust my shoulders by holding my bags. It doesn't phase me. Yeah. So I don't know if, like people have tried that. Like, does it work for you? But it doesn't work for me. I
would say I changed. I set all the bags down now.
Do you? If it worked for you, that's great. Yeah. Like, do what's going to work for you.
I just feel like holding all 4 bags, like I can throw. But I noticed that I do different things with my hand. Sometimes I'll hold them down to my side. Sometimes I'll hold them into me. And I feel like it shifts the weight.
Right.
Which, I mean, is not that big of a deal because it's literally like 2 pounds. But like, it's still like, I don't know. I feel like my body may lean more or whatever. Knowing
I think mine is a good balance, though.
I used to do it all the time, and then I went to only grabbing 2 bags at a time, always holding 1 in 1.
Yeah.
But I think setting all the bags down, it's not so much a reset for me. It's like basically it's like repetition. Like it's gonna be the same throw over and over and over. I can put my arms in the same spot. It feels the same every single time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's it basically could be robotic at that point because it's gonna be the same thing over and over and over.
See, for me, when I hold my bags, right, I got my 3, and I always, when I'm about to throw, it always I kind of cradle it, like when I let it go. So and it's the same thing. So I keep that balance every time. And even when I go to my last one, my hand kind of does the same thing anyways. So I don't even notice it on the last bag. I think it's just in my mind. I'm like, oh, I'm on my last bag. Let's just make this throw.
I think
I
that's
think what
what hurt
messes
me the
me off
most
is that
too.
one at a time, you know?
I think that's what hurt me the most too. Is like my last bag always screwed me up because I didn't have bags in my hand. So I had to try to get away from that because I was so used to holding them in my hand. And then once I didn't have one, that's when I moved my body more.
Right. Yeah, I think it's just honestly with that, I think
Mhm.
it's just you know, it's I think it's a preference. But I personally don't think that is gonna make your game change too much.
No, it's
You know?
just what you prefer.
Yeah, I think it's a preference thing, but definitely if you are noticing an effect between the two, do what is better. You
Mhm.
know? I don't like to bend down over and over and over again to grab a bag. Like I would rather just hold my bag, set my feet, change, you know what I mean? Like get
Mhm.
myself set again for my next bag. As I kind of step forward a little bit anyways, even with my
So you're already
front
resetting
foot.
yourself.
So
Yeah.
so when I throw my bag, then I kind of reset my feet anyways, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, I just think it's not, that one's not too much of a big thing to make, I guess change per se, but whatever works better, stay with that.
Mhm.
Um, the other one, man, hole for hole or dirty bags?
Dirty.
What is your take on
Dirty.
that?
I
I think
personally
dirty is fun.
I feel like I personally have gotten so used to dirty because I threw Vikings for so long
Yeah,
that they didn't slide in the hole. They came
right,
up short, and I got more comfortable if I blocked and then they blocked. I'm just gonna roll and roll and roll.
right,
So I feel like 12s were never really a thought in my mind. Like, yeah, I'd get them occasionally if I do pushes and stuff like that. But I prefer the dirty game. I feel way more comfortable trying to get around bags and stuff like that. If you leave the board open, I think about it too much to just try to slide it in the hole. So that's where I'm trying to elevate my game and get a lot better at to be able to go hole for hole with people. But I definitely would prefer the dirty bag game, especially with a slower bag.
well, for me, hole for hole is a lot of fun, right? I mean, you've played with me, you know this,
Mm-hmm.
dude. I shot against the great Matt Allen, and we went hole for hole, so we know I can shoot hole for hole.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people thought that my dirty game was rough, but I actually enjoy a dirty game. When I partner up with you or I partner up with Daryl, um, I generally will usually play the guy that is the blocker, and then I let my partners hit the hole for hole.
I feel like it's a little bit different with that. It's like you go in the main hole
Well,
for hole because I
I
don't
will go
trust
hole for
myself go
hole.
hole for hole.
Yeah, I go hole for hole, but I'm just saying like I don't mind. Like people think that it messes up my game,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, yeah, it makes the game more interesting because then you could have a bad bag that kicks or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I like it both, honestly. Like it doesn't bother me, because I don't want to have weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So therefore, at home I practice dirty game all the time. That's my biggest thing. I set blocks up all the time, and I'm constantly working on. Do I roll? Do I block? I spend 15 minutes just back blocking. I set a bag every time, and then I back block. And I keep doing it over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like it just really depends on what your play style is.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. And some people just they get annoyed with blocks
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, "Dang, dude,
It's a mental game,
I love to go down
frustration.
the middle." Yeah. I mean, but that's why I said I don't want to have a hole in my game where they're like, "Oh, if you block him, it's over."
It's like a Jimmy Humans thing, like that one clip on the ACL posted where they're like, he was talking, he's like, I don't personally have like a preference, but I'll just play to your weakness. If I'll throw a block and if you suck at pushing it in, I'm gonna throw a block every time. If I see you missing hole for hole, I'm gonna go hole for hole every single time. Like I won't lay a block. So it's like I mean, I don't think it's good to play to people's weaknesses unless your strength is literally everything. I don't feel like you change your game for someone, but at the same time, like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you don't want to mess yourself up.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I mean, you just work on what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to make a complete, like make yourself a complete player, then you're gonna work on dirty game.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because some people are really naturally good at blocking, but then they don't know how to clean it up. That's also a hard part. Is like you get guys that are blocking, and then they're like,
And they
shoot,
block themselves.
yeah, they're like, I can't get my bag in the hole now on the block.
Yeah.
You know, so
Mm-hmm.
what else we got here? We got
How did you get sponsored? Because if some people out there might be wondering,
like how do I get sponsored? How did I get sponsored, or how do you get sponsored?
I'm just saying, how did you get sponsored? Because obviously we have two different ways. I got sponsored way different than you got sponsored. But I feel like if someone's trying to join like an entry level sponsor, get their first sponsor, get their name out there, what do they do and how are they going to go about it?
So, I mean, obviously you guys know I do social media.
Yeah, that's the first thing I'd probably start with is social media, honestly.
Social media helped a lot because I posted a lot of videos of me, like, you know, practicing and working on stuff, like hitting 4 for 4 air mails and just showing like, you know, just showing all what I can do. And then I constantly would just show the venues and like, you know, the stats and things like that and whatnot, you know,
Being active.
basically just staying really active. I think personally, I would say I just kind of like took storm really quick and I made myself kind of known and talked to a lot of people and you know just basically just building friendships and stuff and knowing the right people and that helped a lot. And then just throwing really well, showing my wins and things like that. I mean, we don't always win, but keeping positive mindset too on because you're being a role model. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that to me, I think is why Brotherhood wanted to pick me up, and also why Purdue wanted to sponsor me as well. You know what I mean? Playing very well, but being supportive, helping out the kids, and just getting everybody active and having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about you?
So mine was a little bit different. So Black Sheep, they don't just sponsor anybody. Like they won't go just pick up just someone random. Basically, Black Sheep has like a system where they want to farm players.
Right.
So I started as a bag rep, and then obviously they've seen my videos, they watch my videos, they know who I am. They gave me the opportunity to be on their advanced team. So
Right.
basically, everyone that's sponsored by Black Sheep has worked their way through the advanced team, and they say it takes about 1 year to 2 years through the advanced team, and then you go pro. They're pretty much just there to help you out and just try to get you to go pro any way they can. But yeah, so they ask basically what you want from them and then what they want from you and the ideas if it sounds good in the future kind of thing. But they're going to try to help push any way they can to try to elevate a player to help them go pro. So through their advanced team.
Right.
So that's kind of that's how their sponsorship kind of goes. So it's a little bit different than other ones, but that's the way they want to do it. And I think it's actually really cool.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would personally just start with social media, get your name out there, be active on social media, post videos of you playing, post pictures on Instagram of you winning, things like that. And then from there, maybe like just comment on brands, different cornhole brands
reach
and stuff
out
like
to them
that.
too. It doesn't hurt. A lot of them are pretty active on their social medias and stuff too.
Yeah, I would just reach out, talk to them, maybe see what they want, what you can do to achieve that. Maybe they have an idea if they're like, hey, this is what you need to do, and then we'll sponsor you or whatever. Maybe you start as a bag rep for them and then you work your way into a sponsorship also. It kind of all just depends on how their system works and what they want to do. But yeah, I feel like just get your name out there and start with social media and just start winning and throwing good.
Definitely throw good. Getting sponsored is like, like if you're throwing like a 3, you need some work. You might be the greatest person in the world, but if you're trying to get sponsored, You know, they need is it's like they're investing into you.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, obviously getting your average up, winning more, you know, things like that is going to be huge. But being a role model is a big one. You know, I think that's really big.
Attitude.
So, yeah, no, I couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's another thing Black Sheep is all about is attitude. Because when I first became a bag rep, they're like, we want to make sure that you're not getting into bar fights and like doing rude things to people and whatever. And so it's all about attitude and how you portray yourself too. Because if you're like throwing bags, getting pissed, and things like that, people aren't gonna want that. They don't want you to rep their brand. So I feel like it all comes down to your appearance too in the cornhole world, and traveling. I think traveling helps because then you're gonna get known by more people. Just
Big
get your
reason
name
why I
around.
travel to a lot of the tournaments, man. You know, like that's a big one. But staying proactive. You know, like
Yeah.
it shows that that you're interested in the game. You know, I mean, it's a growing sport and it's getting bigger and bigger, man. I don't care what anybody says, but cornhole is like taking over. And you know, we're getting into it at a good time. You know, it's been around for a long time, but we're getting into it in a really good time. You know, so yeah, no, definitely agree.
Yeah. All right, so next week we're gonna have a guest. Hopefully, we already have the idea of who it's gonna be. Richard's gonna talk to him. Hopefully, we can get him on here.
Possible, yeah. There's a couple candidates, but one of them I'm trying to reach out to. I'll be able to talk to him on. Well, I can talk to him now, but I mean Wednesday I'll be seeing him face to face and we can chat about it. But yeah, we definitely want to get a guest speaker on. Get this channel popping with some more guest stars in here and talk to them about their journey or you know, yeah.
And why did they play cornhole? What made them start?
Why did they play cornhole? What got them into it? You know, just some good questions. You know, yeah. And then if anybody has questions for us too, we'd love to answer these questions.
Just drop them down in the comments and we'll answer them in the next podcast. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up. If you guys need anything off of Black Sheep's website, 10% off. Use code BRIZ10 for 10% off anything, bags, clothing, whatever you guys need from Black Sheep. Richard?
And then, yeah, Brotherhood Cornhole guys, gals, everybody out there. Phenomenal company. Both of these companies are top tier pro stamped companies. But yeah, Brotherhood's got bags that people are just loving. I had people again asking me last night, what bags am I using? They were feeling them, they were loving them. So you know, I'm a specialty with the wingmans. Yeah, so use code NYBERG10, get yourself the discount in the shop for merch and bags. Make sure you guys are using that code so you can get yourself discounts and stuff, and obviously it helps me out on my journey as well too. So as well as Briz with his journey. So
yep, it's gonna wrap up episode 7, and we'll see you guys in episode 8.